Hello. Horses feature prominently in Paleolithic cave paintings found in France and Spain. Research on fossil DNA has confirmed the black, brown and spotted colours shown in these depictions all existed in the ancient European horse population. The oldest piece of art ever found in Britain is of the head and forequarters of a galloping horse with an upright mane, carved on a fragment of rib bone. It was discovered in 1876 in the Robin Hood Cave at Cresswell Crags, a limestone gorge on the border of Derbyshire and Nottinghamshire, and is between 12 and 13,000 years old. Now in the British Museum, a replica can be seen at Cresswell Crags Museum and Heritage Centre. More recently uncovered prehistoric paintings in Church Hole Cave at Cresswell Crags include equine images. I mentioned the Uffington white horse chalk figure, cut into a hillside in the Berkshire Downs more than 3,000 years ago, in part 1. The stylisation is very similar to the horses appearing on Iron Age coins we looked at in part 2. One of the mounts in the Staffordshire hoard, discovered in 2009, the largest hoard of Anglo-Saxon gold ever found, was of a horse's head. An early Pictish sculptured stone in the churchyard at Aberlemno, Angus in Scotland, is thought by some to commemorate a decisive victory that checked the northern expansion of the Northumbrian Angles in 685 at Nectansmere. There is a replica in the Royal Scottish Museum in Edinburgh. The horses shown display various natural gaits. In his 13th century life of Edward the Confessor, Benedictine monk, artist and chronicler Matthew Paris included an illustration of horses in action at the Battle of Stamford Bridge in 1066. This illumination from a 13th century Apocalypse manuscript, inspired by the Book of Revelations, features St. Matthew with the first horseman of the Apocalypse representing conquest, riding a fine-looking white steed. We looked at the horses embroidered on the Bayeux tapestry in part 4, and Sir Geoffrey Luttrell pictured mounted on his destrier in part 5. The Luttrell Psalter, created for Sir Geoffrey around 1340, also has contemporary images of jousting, with figures thought to represent Richard I and Saladin engaged in single combat, and of horses being ridden, hauling wagons and drawing a harrow. From the time of Edward the Confessor, monarchs used a personal seal, a casting of their image in wax, to authenticate documents. The Great Seal of the realm was a potent symbol of authority and a means of projecting an image of how the monarch wanted to be seen. On one side, nearly all showed the ruler on horseback. This is the obverse of the first Great Seal of Elizabeth I, designed by her court artist Nicholas Hilliard. This picture of a mounted Henry VIII in full regal splendour is a coloured woodcut from a painting by Dutch artist Antonis. After the restoration of the monarchy in 1660, Charles II commissioned a set of 5 enormous paintings from Isaac Fuller, now in the National Portrait Gallery's collection, telling the story of his escape to France after the Battle of Worcester in 1651, one of which shows him disguised as a servant astride the horse he borrowed from Humphrey Pendrell, normally used to provide the motive power to grind grain at Pendrell's mill near Boscobel in Shropshire. Royal mares from Tangier form part of the substantial dowry brought to England by Catherine of Braganza on her marriage to Charles in 1662. In this painting of around 1675, now in the government art collection, Charles is shown mounted in what is almost a mirror image of an equestrian portrait of his father, Charles I, by Anthony van Dyck. Not in armour like his father, this is a new beginning, but emphasising the continuity of the Stuart dynasty. This is art harnessed and weaponised to promote the royal image, the reins of a powerful horse firmly gripped, symbolising authority over the state. Horse races had been taking place for many centuries before the first recorded events in the late 12th century as part of the annual St Bartholomew Fair at Smithfield in London. Horse racing was the favourite pastime of Charles II. During his reign, it became known as the sport of kings. In the 17th and 18th centuries, horse racing and fox hunting both became more formalised pursuits. Aristocratic patrons commissioned paintings to reflect their recreational interests. James Seymour and John Wotton were among the leading artists of the first half of the 18th century producing equestrian paintings. This hunting scene by Seymour, one of a series, is in the National Trust collection at the Shugborough Hall in Staffordshire. This is Wotton's painting of the Duke of Hamilton's grey racehorse Victorious at Newmarket. In the later 18th century, the largely self-taught George Stubbs became famous as the horse painter. This almost life-size canvas of Whistlejacket, a thoroughbred Arabian chestnut stallion, winner of a famous race at York in 1759 and now in the National Gallery, was commissioned by the Marquis of Rockingham. It originally hung in a dining room named after the horse at his home Wentworth Woodhouse near Rotherham, where there is now a copy. Stubbs' minutely observed horses have remarkable individuality. John Constable's landscape The Leaping Horse, painted in 1825 in the collection of the Royal Academy, shows a horse towing a barge along the River Stour, leaping over one of the cattle barriers put in place to prevent cattle straying on the towpath. The small boy on the horse's back has neither saddle nor stirrups. In the 19th century, John Frederick Herring Sr. was among several artists painting hunters and racehorses. This is a Marteau, winner of the 1838 Derby, at 15.2 hands, relatively small for a Derby winner. Herring also captured horses at work in the countryside. This harvest scene is called Autumn. Artist Cecil Aldin was master of the South Berkshire foxhounds and painted several hunting scenes. At the outbreak of World War I, he gave his horses to aid the war effort and became a purchasing officer with the Army Remount Service, by whom horses and mules were trained for military service. Alfred Munnings, a member of the Newlyn School of Artists, also worked for Army Remount, having been passed unfit for combat duty, and as a war artist captured scenes close to enemy lines, including what became known as the last great cavalry charge at the Battle of Moray Wood near Amiens in France, for which Lieutenant Gordon Flowerdew, who led the Allied charge, was posthumously awarded the Victoria Cross. Lucy Kemp Welch designed recruitment posters and was commissioned by the Imperial War Museum to paint women at work in Army Remount depots. This is the Straw Ride at Russley Park Remount Depot in Wiltshire. Although no longer so important in working life, and their military involvement is now ceremonial, horses continue to inspire artists. Next time, the various crafts associated with horses: farriers, saddlers, spurriers and lorriners. If you've enjoyed this video, hit the like and subscribe buttons and click on the notification bell to be informed when the next video is available, or you can subscribe by clicking on the rose window over my shoulder.